This review is for GadgetReviewGuys.com for the iPhone 5 gold conversion. This gold conversion is the matte finish. It's also available in the gloss. It comes with the SIM card tray, the power button, and the volume buttons. They will fit on any iPhone 5, Verizon, Sprint, or AT&T. Most of you, if you're not familiar with how to open the iPhone 5, it's much different from the iPhone 4. You no longer open from the back, you have to open from the front. So first, you have to remove the two screws at the bottom, and it kind of opens like the old iPhone 3s did. It opens right from the front using a suction cup or wedger tools. Next, I'm going to pry up. I don't recommend you use a razor blade. The laser blades are kind of only for if you've had experience doing this before. You probably would want to use the wedger tool. But I will show you how I do it, and if you feel confident enough you can do it like this on your own, you may attempt it. Once you get the first clip to pop out, you're home free. Well, it's got side clips, which you'll see in the next part of the video. I will be showing you how to remove those side clips that hold the screen in so securely. Now that you got those out, you can kind of get your fingernail in there if you don't chew them off, and you can pry it up just like that. Once you get it open, it's not like the 3. You can't just pull up freely. Make sure not to yank it up. You can only go about that far until these 3 screws have to be removed carefully. As you can see, 1, 2, 3. Next, now that the safety guard has been removed with the 3 screws, you want to pry these up with a plastic. Now that the screen has been removed, you are going to have to remove these next screws. There's screw number 1, 2, and 3 are holding down the charger cable. Number 4, 5, and 6. And you will also need a flathead to remove these 1, and the other 2 are not exposed yet. They will be momentarily. Now removing the screws. Now, these are the screws you must use the flathead in order to remove. These 2 screws up here. This is an arm brace that pushes on the side of the camera. It's something I wanted to make you guys aware of. Even when the phone is brand new and it's just been opened, as you can see, the camera is loose. So if you do this on your own, if you can't get the camera to like feel like it's really back in place, it's like that when you first open it. It's always going to feel like it's got a little bit of click in there, and you might not want to put it back together thinking that something's wrong, but that's how they are when they're brand new. I don't know why, but there is a little bit of play in there. It reveals 1 more Phillips head screw and 1 other tiny flathead. It's actually the tiniest flathead on the board. It'll be the one that looks different in your pile of screws when you're done, and that's the one that goes up here next to the camera. You can see right there, it looks slightly different. Now for the next part, I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera while I remove the battery and the flex cables. Next, we are going to take off the vibrator because there's a very small wire that runs over to the motherboard, and we're not able to take out the motherboard until this is out of our way. So you want to take off the top screw, the bottom screw, and then the screw at the very top up here. Now that the vibrator is removed, you can come down to the bottom and pop off the flex cable that runs down to the charging dock. Once that flex cable's up, be very careful to just peel that back out of your way. There is also the antenna wire that runs down. Carefully pop that up also and move that to the side. Now, you also have to remove, if you see there's a flex cable that runs down from here to here, and also the flex cable that runs to the volume and vibrate switch. Now that those two are gone, you'll see that they exposed a screw that was placed underneath of them right there. You'll have to remove that screw, the ribbon cable, and the final 3 screws at the top, because this is attached to the motherboard. You will not be able to remove it without. These 2 screws are very small. Also, make sure you sit everything carefully. We'll have some diagrams on the website soon. You can download or print out the diagram, and basically it's a picture of the phone and where all the parts lay, so you can make sure you lay all your parts in the correct area so you don't lose any of them in the process. Now this part at the top right here, there's 2 different versions. In the AT&T iPhones, there's no lever at the top. The Sprint and the Verizon iPhones, you'll see once we get up underneath behind the camera, the brace that is holding on the power button, it has a lever, kind of like a lever door that holds it in. Also want to take a pin, a SIM card pusher of some sort, and you will have to eject the SIM card tray. With these, be very careful when you put the pin in the hole, and be sure to make sure not to miss and scratch the exterior. It's good to leave the SIM card in there until the end like I did, because it holds the entire motherboard in place, so when you're doing the different screws and whatnot, it has some stability until the end, until you're actually ready to have it removed. And now that it's loosened, you'll see the only thing that's still remaining connecting is that small wire that ran to the side. Give me one moment. I'm going to remove this one last wire, and then we're going to pause. You have to be very careful when removing this. As you can see, it's glued to the face. There's not any real need to heat it up. I wouldn't say it needs to be heated, but there we go. So now the motherboard, antenna wire, it's still sticky. You'll set that to the side. Now that the motherboard is removed, you want to come down to the bottom, and we are going to remove
virus database
the 1,
has been updated.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 screws at the bottom. So go ahead and start removing those. Slightly like this, and then it moves backwards, and then you can flip it freely. One motion like that. So lift up the back, gives you a little bit of freedom so you can flip it. And now before you can start trying to yank that whole unit out, you're going to want to pull the glue free from the flex cable, because that's what this is. It's kind of just like the iPhone 4, how it had that big bottom flex cable. So now once you get some of the flex cable removed, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. There we go. All one unit. You can fold this back the way it was and set that to the side for right now. Now that the motherboard's almost clean, the next things that we have to remove are the braces that hold in the front faceplate. When you click in, and when you, at the very beginning of the video when I was removing that faceplate, these little brackets are what hold that faceplate in there. You can see them here. There's 1, 2, I believe there's 5. It's an odd number. Yes, there's 3 on this side. 1, 2, 3, and 2 on the other side. 1, 2. The extra one on this side acts as a brace for the volume switch. So when that one's removed, it will also release the volume cable. Now that the side angles, clip latches have been removed, the 4 latches were able to be removed, and the 5th one, like I said, it holds in the volume button and the volume switch. So there's 3 screws. We have 1, 2, and 3. And you'll have to remember that this latch goes underneath the vibrate latch. When you're putting it back together, the volume first and then the vibrate on top of it. So basically you have to pop these 2 out and then very carefully start to peel up the wire. And at the top, where the vibrator was, the top left hand corner, you can see the 2 copper connectors that touch down. The wire goes all the way up to them, so don't forget to go underneath of that. You might have to be careful when you're removing that, and even possibly use a razor blade to go gently underneath of it. There we go. So now that's up, and you can continue peeling the wire until you get up here, and we are up to the microphone. This is the top mic, and this is where that latch comes in that I was telling you about. Here's the latch that goes left to right, and as you can see, the latch cannot open to release the button because of the microphone and the flash are in the way. So you'll see as we peel this up, you kind of have to get, it's a combination of the 2 to get it out. at the top of the latch, it's the pin that is holding it in. There's a pin that runs all the way down, but if you lift up on the latch and raise it, you can raise the latch up and bring it out above on top of the flash sensor. You have to be real careful. There we go. You get it? Oh. There, above the latch sensor. Like it's looks like a flash guard of some sort. Goes right here where the proximity sensor goes in, right next to it, in between the camera and the proximity sensor. That is what blocks the latch from opening all the way. So just be careful when you go through that part. Go kind of slow. And now that you have both of the side pieces off, the only thing really left is the SIM card tray ejector. Don't forget to do that. You can take that one out. Now, at the top of the latch, it's the pin that is holding it in. There's a pin that runs all the way down, but if you lift up on the latch and raise it, you can raise the latch up and bring it out above on top of the flash sensor. You have to be real careful. There we go. You get it? Oh. There, above the latch sensor. Like it's looks like a flash guard of some sort. Goes right here where the proximity sensor goes in, right next to it, in between the camera and the proximity sensor. That is what blocks the latch from opening all the way. So just be careful when you go through that part. Go kind of slow. And now that you have both of the side pieces off, the only thing really left is the SIM card tray ejector. Don't forget to do that. You can take that one out. Next, what we want to do is put on the side ports. These are the connectors that hold down the front face and keep it from coming up, along with the two screws at the bottom. That's the only thing that holds the faceplate on. Next, we have to put in the motherboard. For the motherboard, you have to make sure you lift up this flat, and you want to go ahead and lift it like that, so you make sure you got the top taken care of, and then the bottom just snugs in like that. You can push the camera back so you know the camera is going to go in nice, and make sure all four corners are taken care of. Let's see. There we go. And then the camera. Now, here's the proximity sensor. You got to make sure you push that over and get that down in there. And then the camera. Once that's taken care of, you can go ahead and put this snap in. It's the flex cable for the volume and the power. Now this is going to go with a slight curl and come around just like that. There's kind of a little groove in there made for that to go in and stick into. And then, as long as the it's tough to get the screw hole lined up. Let's see. There we go. Once that's in, you know the camera's in. Plug in the charging port now, which is right down here. Charger's plugged in, and then the antenna. Now the antenna is plugged in. Let's go over and double check everything. The second part we're going to have to put in, this top corner will do the vibrate switch, which also has the bracket that holds the antenna up here in place. That was that antenna that I was having a little bit of trouble with. Now that next bracket lines up on top of it. So you're actually going to have to put the screw through three things, and then it will go. And then the top screw is a very small screw that holds in the top part of the vibrator. Some of these screws are non-magnetic. I thought it was just a coincidence with the first few models that I did, and then I noticed going through, no matter how many models I did, the same exact screws were non-magnetic in all three different models. This next screw, after I put in the vibrate switch, we're going to go and do the camera bracket that holds in the camera, and then we will do the battery and we'll do a test run to make sure everything's working. Now the next part was the bracket up near the camera. The bracket up near the camera, if you remember towards the beginning, I said make sure it was the one screw that looked different than the other ones in the phone. It was very small. That goes underneath, and then the bracket goes over top and screws down to it, which touches right here on the camera and keeps the camera tight where it's at, and then screws in right there. So we did the vibrator, we did the camera. Now there's two wires that go up here. It's not exactly clear what they're for. It seems like it's to ground the board, but they go at the very top. So after you put the two top screws in, the next thing we're going to do is put in the wire that goes to the antenna. There's two antenna wires. And those antenna wires go from here and here to down here and here. And if you remember, those two also had a screw that was underneath of them. Once we removed those, it exposed that screw. So we'll go ahead and put that screw in right now also. And now that that screw's in, we can put these two in. Like so. Let's see the first one. First one's in, and now the second one is in also. And then this one. Now that we have those two in, we're just about ready to put in the battery and turn it on and give it a test run. Make sure everything's working right. Put in the SIM card tray before we go any further and test and make sure that it will eject the SIM card. Take your pin, make sure not to touch any of the gold so don't scratch it. Put the pin in and eject the SIM card tray. So we know that ours does work. We can leave that SIM card tray in and move on to the next phase of the project. Now we want to put in those 3 flathead screws, the only 3 that require the flathead, and they go around where the battery goes in at. I got one. And they're all the same length, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. I like to start them with the Phillips head because it's just it's easier to get them started with, and then you can finish them with the flathead. There we go. And the third one goes at the very top, and of course this is the non-magnetic one. The screw that goes into it is also non-magnetic. So for some reason, the one that goes up here at the top is not magnetized. Alright, I'm going to start it with the Phillips head because it's a bit tough to get started. Now that you have those three in, the next step is either, well, the bracket at the top is the last step. You want to do these two bottom ones down here. I go and hold the battery bracket in. So once you can put in the battery, so we got the battery in, and then the brackets that go at the bottom. This one goes, you put the first one is the one that goes over the battery, and the second one, as you can see, it's got a little groove. That groove sits in top and holds into that second one. Hard to get lined up, so once you do get them lined up, try and get that first middle screw in, and that will hold the two together. And once you get the middle one in, then the other two aren't so hard to do. You can push that over, grab the next one. There we go. Now that is held in securely. We're going to bring the screen back, and we'll be putting the screen on next. I'll turn it around for you guys so you can see how we apply the three snaps, starting with the bottom one first, and then the second, and then the third. And we'll basically bring it down and give it a test first and make sure everything's okay before we actually screw it in. As you can see, it turned on before I snapped it in. You see the gap right there. But you just want to turn it on and test it, make sure all your antennas, your wires, your Wi-Fi, all that stuff works. And then we'll open it back up and put in the final bracket piece and the final last three screws, and we should be good to go. Now, the next step is putting in the protector. It holds down the flex cables and makes sure that they don't come loose in case you drop your phone or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and try and give you guys a clear view while I'm still able to do this. Let's see if we can do that. And the last screw is the non-magnetic one. It's always tough. So now that we have all 3 screws in, we'll make sure that the top goes in the way it's supposed to. Test it and see if it powers on. We have to wait for it to turn on and make sure that the digitizer is also plugged in, because with that wiggling, the digitizer may have came unplugged in the process, and we may have to take the the guard back off and snap the components back in and put the guard back on again, and try not to wiggle it as much. Sometimes it happens, sometimes you get lucky and it stays plugged in like that. The digitizer is plugged in, so you can then turn it off and make sure that the top is pushed into place, and it can then begin to snap down into place. Now the phone's in place. Double check it, make sure everything's working. Volume's working, vibrate switch is working, up and down. Dismiss, make sure that the home button's working. Yep, home button works. And now we have our beautiful gold and black iPhone 5. The only thing left is to put your 2 bottom screws in, and you have your beautiful phone finished and completed.